Welcome to another edition of Vigorously with me, Val Kleinhands. Singer Magdalene Rose is in the building. I have caught up on the videos today, caught up on the music today. We have questions. We have questions. We have thoughts. We have opinions. We have excitement over above anything. I'm thrilled that you're here. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, well, so anytime I talk to a musician, which is they're my favorite group of people to talk to a lot of the time, really, because I share I share that creative bone in my body too. I mean, anytime you're creating content, anytime you're editing audio, sound, I feel like there's some parallels there. So
Yeah.
definitely always enjoy the chance to do things like this. What is your music origin story? How did you fall in love with music to begin with?
So I started taking music lessons when I was 5 years old. My parents wanted me
Wow.
to have a more rounded personality. They were very business people. And so they're like, hey,
Got it.
start young. If you hate this, you can quit it, but at least you try type of thing. And they wanted to kind of instill that in me and my sisters very early on. And so I used to play piano, and that's all I played. And
Okay.
as we started getting older, me and my sister started kind of picking different instruments. And so then me and my sisters had a band ourselves, and we would do cover music. We played Skillet music. That was our favorite band.
Yes. Yes.
And we got to go to a few Skillet concerts, and I think that's really where the love for it showed up, because I could see it in person, and I could see it in practice, and it wasn't just, oh, this is just music lessons and this is boring. It's like, no, I'm at a concert, and I want to do that one day. And
Yeah.
so the band that my sisters had, we kind of did that up until 2022 actually, and it was called GFM, and we did a few nationwide tours. We went all the way to Germany. um
Wow.
yeah, it was so fun. It was awesome, and I got to travel with my family. And um, we in 2022 we decided that we would kind of put a break on the band, because we all felt like we were being called in different directions. And
Mm.
we had done it for so long, we didn't really know what else was out there. And I think we kind of were wanting to explore that. And our first show, and when we started playing shows, I was 11, and so I had been doing that
Oh, yeah.
since then. And so we were kind of okay, let's see what else is out there. And I feel like GFM is not where we need to be right now, and we can always come back to it. It's
Yeah,
our
your
thing. So
family.
yeah, it's it's not like we're just gonna not be allowed back in. It's our band. Our
You
band.
know you know where they live.
Exactly. And so I still felt called to do music, and I didn't really know how to do that on my own. And I kind of had to take a leap of faith, and trust that everything would work out, even though I had no clue how it would. And my husband, at the time, he was just my boyfriend. He's in a band called Seventh Day Slumber, and they immediately offered to take me on tour. And they said after the first little tour we did, if I felt uncomfortable, if it wasn't what I wanted to do anymore, I could quit. And whatever creative avenue I wanted to explore, they were going to support me through it. And
Yeah.
um, it was the most stressful, confusing, weird time of my life, because I had never played on a stage with people that weren't my sisters. And
Oh,
it was very nerve-wracking, and I was completely out of my element. But the more we played, and the more we started writing music for my solo artist project, it really helped me fall back in love with music, because for a while I was kind of done with it. Especially when we kind of took a break for with my sisters. I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this, because I want to do music, but I don't know if this is the way I want to do it. So what's the point?
right.
And so as we started writing music, I found my voice again, and started finding out who I was individually as well as a performer. And yeah, I think 2023 is when we were doing our first tours as Magdalene Rose. And it was such a pivotal moment of my life, even though I feel
Yeah.
like there were so many other ones where I was already involved with music. But just having that first tour with my husband's family, and having them, it was so weird. I had only met their family, really like stayed with them once. And so now it's like I'm thrown into living on a bus with all of them. And so
Oh man.
it was like, but it was really good. And we were able to do lots of cool things on that tour on like off days too. And so I think having stuff like being able to go to Universal when we went to California and stuff,
Right.
and like having good stuff like that tied into it helped me like fall back in love with music. Because like, oh, okay, this can be fun. Like it doesn't have to be scary. Like we can have a good time and push
Yeah.
through the fear. And yeah, I've been able to share my story. And I think doing that and speaking with people at shows and hearing their stories has really kind of brought me back to being super connected to the core of music.
Yeah. And there's a lot of layers to your story too. As I was
Yeah.
watching and doing some research, I mean, woo! But I want to start with what made me really really happy to see. We'll start there because I love how you were talking about your off days and how you were spending them at places like Universal. It definitely looks like your off days off when you have days off on tour are arcades, Barnes and Noble, or malls. And you and the one that just made me smile so much was the moment that you show in one of your vlogs where you're in New York City, you're at the biggest Barnes and Noble that there is in America or the
Hmm.
US, maybe one of them. But
Yeah.
and instead of being focused on books that he wants, Blaze, your man, is promoting you. This man, this man said, I have a queen to support. Listen, like for those of you that didn't watch this, I was like, oh my God. He gets up and he actually interacts with a potential new fan who
Hmm.
I guess I don't recall how he caught on to the fact that they were a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they were wearing a shirt or what, but something clicked for him and he was able to use that to promo the single that's got the chicka jump scare
Yeah.
in it and be like, "Hey, you guys should check out Magdalene Rose." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "What a sweetheart." Like that is incredible. Do moments like that happen often? Because I see why you married him if you did. Like
Yeah, they do, and he knows that it kind of embarrasses me as well, and so I just run away most of the time because
yeah.
it's super sweet, but I'm so embarrassed all the time. And so he always is trying to like he knows I laugh about it afterwards too. And so he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna go tell that person to go listen to your band." And I'm like, "What? Don't." And like now he's joining people's TikTok lives and telling them, "Hey, you should listen to this song by Magdalene Rose." I'm like, "What are you
Oh.
doing? Leave me alone."
You are his queen. He's doing what he can. I love that. What do you think it takes to build a strong foundation like that? Were you friends first?
Oh yeah, we started as best friends. We actually met on tour when I was in the
Oh,
band with my
okay.
sisters. And so we met on tour. We were like him and his little brothers and me and my two sisters were the only kids on tour. And so we immediately were like
Oh,
best
okay.
friends, playing video games together, hanging out, going to the playground, even though like we were a little bit too old for the playground. We were like,
You're
"Hey,
never too
let's
old
go
for the
down the
playground.
slide." Like,
Never too old for the playground.
and so we just instantly became friends on tour. And then like between tours, he lived in Tennessee, I lived in Florida, and so we would play video games online together, and that was how we
Oh,
kind of
okay.
kept a relationship up. And I wasn't allowed to date until I was 18, and he was like, "I'm waiting for this girl. I'm going to marry her. I already know it."
Oh,
And I had never been in a relationship before, and I was like, that's scary. Please let's just be friends right now."
well, fair for someone who hadn't dated before. Completely valid.
Yeah, and he was willing to wait, and he took everything at my pace. And
Yeah.
we were completely best friends before anything. And I think that helped a ton. Long distance, I think that helped a ton because it was awful being on like in different bands touring, and then even when you were
Yeah.
home we weren't in the same state at all. And so we had that friendship where we could play games online, we could call and talk about dumb stuff, and it didn't have to just be like relationship stuff. We were just talking about something dumb we saw, or like, "Hey, I saw a dog and I really loved it. Do you want to see a picture of the dog I saw today?" And it's
Yeah,
like,
I want to
"Yeah,
see the picture of the
yeah, of
dog. I,
course I
I
want to
will
see the
take all
dog."
the dog pictures. Cat and dog pictures are currency to me.
Yes, yes. And so I think that definitely is like that it was a huge thing for our friendship to be the foundation of our relationship.
Oh, I love hearing that. I want to talk about the makeup skills too, because I'm not a makeup girly, but I was learning today. I was watching your routine and I was like, my first question was, how in the world does she keep her eyeliner on after getting all sweaty at a show? What are you doing that it doesn't melt off your face?
Yeah, so I use like hardcore waterproof eyeliner, and then I have like this bridal setting spray, which is like hairspray for your face. I
Oh,
douse
that's
myself
right.
in that. Like everything is layered with like liquid, then powder, then the spray, and like it's like hardcore. Sometimes it chokes people out in the bus because of how much I have to spray, but I'm like, this stuff is not gonna move. Like,
You're right, it doesn't. And I'm like, I can't shoot my own Instagram photos like outdoors without having it look like Niagara Falls coming down my face, like the goth version of Niagara Falls coming down my face every time I'm out in above 80-degree weather, which, oh my God.
yeah.
But okay. So it's about the spray and it's about a
hmm
quality liner to begin with. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is awesome though because I don't use a lot of high-end products, so everything that I get, I like always tell people like you can just get this at Walmart. Like it's great.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it's just like a
Okay,
NYX eyeliner pen.
really? That's all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes later. We're gonna talk more about that later, but I do want to talk about Tea Theater, the new single just came
Mhm.
out. Give me the tea, everything. I like it. I heard it. It's great, but your story with it, your relationship with it.
Yeah, so this song was actually super frustrating to write.
What?
It was like the third song we started writing in the process of everything. We've already released an EP because it wasn't ready to be released, and
Okay.
we just kept changing it. The song has probably had like 14 or 15 different versions of it because we just weren't happy with the way it was sounding, and something needed to be changed. And then the part we changed didn't match, so the rest of the song had to be changed. And like literally, when we were sending it off to get mixed and mastered, we had changed something that day, and we're like, okay, we're not touching it anymore. Leave it alone. Like it's what's done is done. It's not gonna change anymore.
Oh yeah.
And so like writing it was super frustrating in that way because we wanted it to be perfect, and it felt like we were always searching for that perfect sound, and we didn't find it until the very end. But the lyric side of it and releasing it was a little nerve wracking as well because it is my story of struggling with anorexia. And, I wanted to write a song that wasn't just about being stuck in that moment because thankfully, by the grace of God, I've been healed from that. And I wanted to be able to create a community of people that could walk alongside other people who are struggling with eating disorders or body dysmorphia or some sort of body image issue. And I wanted to create a thing where we could walk alongside them as they're recovering and while they're in the middle of it, and let people know that healing is possible.
Mhm.
And I think that's part of the reason there's so many times in the song that we tell people that they're beautiful, because a lot of times people don't hear it enough today, and people are
No.
just constantly telling themselves negative things about themselves. And you know God forbid you go online and read any of the comments in your comment
Uh,
section.
yeah, that's a whole other
And
conversation.
yeah, and so I wanted to be able to put something positive out there and let people know, like, if you have not ever been told that you are beautiful, or if you haven't felt that way in a really long time, as somebody who knows what that struggle is like, please let me be the first one to let you know how beautiful you are, and that your value is not tied to that number on the scale, and it's not tied to the size on your tag. And you're valuable because you are a human being, and like there's only one of you, and that's so special. And we wanted to make you know a positive thing to put out there, especially as it seems like it's getting worse again on social media, where it's this skinny
Yeah.
trend is coming back, and it's so terrible. And I want especially the younger generation to be able to have something to look to and to go to instead of all those negative comments.
Yeah, it's nauseating to me whenever I see one of those like skinny teas promoted
Yeah.
or the Weight Watcher type thing being floated on social media just by influencers or celebrities or whatever. It's tough.
hmm
And then I almost feel like, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree with this, but I feel like there's still a stigma and a judgment in talking about anorexia or any eating disorder for that matter too. People still look at people who are open about this and go, well, why, what went wrong? That's odd. They still have so many
yeah.
questions, and it's like, bro, just accept that this happens. Like
Yeah.
it's a very real thing for people out there.
Yeah, and people are still very scared to talk about it, not just people who have struggled about it, but other people who are supposed to be willing to help, it makes them scared or feel weird, and so they don't want to talk about it. And it's like nobody is going to get better if we don't talk about these things. And
Mm.
we wanted to do something similar to Project Semicolon, and I wanted to do it geared toward people who have struggled with eating disorders or some type of issue similar to that. And so
Mm.
I got one myself. It's a little tattoo of a tooth, and we're inviting other people to get it. My husband got one to support me and to support the song. But he also knows my struggle with anorexia, and so he got it to support me in that. And so we're hoping that more people will get teeth tattoos. And so if somebody is struggling and sees somebody with a teeth tattoo, it'll make them feel less alone, because it is a very isolating disorder to have. And because people don't talk about it, you feel like you can't tell your own story. And so the more that I do, because I'm learning how to do tattoos myself, so I've been able to do a few of them on people who have been at shows, which is awesome.
How long have you been
And
learning?
um I think almost 6 months now. So
Cool.
I'm still like, I'm in my apprentice era. And
That's okay.
um
We love it. You got to start somewhere.
yeah, so I've been approved to do like the little teeth. So it's been super cool to just hear people's stories, because now they're feeling empowered, and we're able to talk about it while I'm tattooing them. And it's honestly surprising the amount of men that I've done it with, like done the
That too.
tattoos on, and now they're feeling open to talk about their stories. And it's just cool to see people finding their voice and feeling like they are able to share their story now.
Yeah, the male aspect is something I've always wondered about too, because women, for us, it's okay.
Yeah, it's like, oh
to
yeah, women are supposed to struggle with that. What are you talking
they're
about? Like,
they're supposed to they're almost required to have some
yeah.
sort of eating disorder with how much pressure is put on women. But
Hmm.
men face plenty of
Yeah.
societal pressures too. And
Hmm.
we forget that. And I would imagine it's 10 times harder for them to be vulnerable because of the
Yeah.
other societal pressure that they're
Hmm.
put under, which is I got to be tough, I got to be strong, I can't let anybody know that I'm quote unquote weak, you
Yeah.
know, by showing emotion,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. So kudos to you for making a safe space, honestly, and doing what you can with that. It sounds like your faith is something that has carried you through all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, your entire musical journey, really. And I was just curious, like, I was wondering how it was that you're able to cross over between a Christian market and just the general market, and what it's like being a part of both worlds, because you do.
Yeah. It's something we've done since the beginning of like me doing music. And we looked up to bands like Skillet, and they did it. They've been on tour with bands
Yeah.
like Papa Roach and Seether, but they also do like Winter Jam, which is an entire church tour type thing. And so I always wanted to do something like that, because I don't want people who don't believe in the same thing that I do to feel excluded from my music. And I want them to be able to get something out of my music too, whether it's they end up believing in Jesus the way I do, or they just feel empowered after it, is fine. And I hope that I can give some sort of positive influence in whatever way that they are able to receive it. And it is a little tricky sometimes. Surprisingly more in like the Christian world,
Really?
because it's like it's scary to them, and they don't always like the way I dress or the makeup I do, or like the metal music is very scary to some churches. And
Wow. Still, I was like, is this 1985? My God, we're still there.
yeah, literally. And like some
Wow.
shows that I've been like on tours that I've been on, they have either canceled the entire show because they found out I was on the show, or they have just canceled my part of the show and let the rest of the bands play, because like
Oh,
somebody who is like an elder in the church doesn't approve of it, and they like threaten to pull funding from the church, and they're like, we will go underwater if we don't do that. And so like I've learned to kind of accept it at this point. Um
yeah.
and I'm in a place where like I can thankfully let it roll off my shoulders now. At first, it was very much like, wow, these people are just attacking me, and I feel like a terrible person. Like, what is
For
going
do
on?
for doing literally nothing but playing music.
Yeah, and thankfully, I have a good support system, and they've helped me kind of restructure the way I see it, and I'm able to help people who have church hurt because they're seeing me literally get hurt by people in the church and not letting it affect me, and so I'm able to help those people kind of find a place to belong, and you'll find churches that are willing to accept them for who they are and meet them where they're at. And then in the general market area, I really don't face very much flack, which is like really very strange that that would be the case. But a lot of people are just very respectful, and they just appreciate that I'm honest about what I believe and that I'm not trying to be like a poser on stage by like
Period.
bashing something that I do believe in, or like I'm not like bashing people over the heads with Bibles either, because I don't feel like it's my place to force a belief down somebody's throat. And I'm just honest about who I am on stage, and if people don't like it, they don't like it, and like that's cool. Like I'm not gonna tell them like you need to believe this, or you never invited my show ever again. Like no,
No,
like
that's not your
this is
vibe.
just yeah, that's not who I am, and we're wanting. My goal is to help people no matter what they believe in, and um, it's super cool to see how much of a family it is in like the mainstream area. No matter what you believe, people are usually willing to like just accept you and bring you in, and a lot of the bands we toured with are just it's a really big family out there, and so that's always refreshing. And then like when we do get to play the good churches, that's also really awesome, because you always get like the church moms who built like bake all these casseroles for you, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is the best food I've ever eaten.
The best tour food ever.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That makes me really happy to hear because I'm one of those people that probably still deals with some church hurt
Hmm.
because I grew up non-denomination,
Yeah.
and as soon as I started getting into metal, as soon as I started to change up my look, which this is natural. The hair color and the pale skin is natural, by the
Oh
way.
well,
But
it's awesome.
so
You
like
were
I
rocking
can't.
it.
Well, thank you, but it's like, but I know that there's some stigma attached. Like I'm not going to pretend
Hmm.
I'm not Lydia Dietz reincarnated. Like I get it. I get what
Yeah.
media does for people who look like me. But but there's just some church hurt there, and then there was just some weird things that like I would take part in it. I would engage in it, and I enjoyed and connected with some great friends when I was part of it. But I went to a youth camp once, and I was just appalled at like
Yeah.
it was more. I'll put it to you this way, and I don't know that it was Pentecostal or for certain. My
Hmm.
understanding was that this particular camp was non-denomination as well, but the lectures were sermons, I should say, were more fire and brimstone,
Mm.
like you are a sinner and this is you have to repent. And I'm like, bro, you have 9 and 10 year olds sobbing
Yeah. They are
because you're
scared.
because you know what I mean. And I'm 15 and I'm seeing this. The adults in the room are in their 50s and causing this, and it has no effect on them whatsoever. And
Hmm.
I'm like a teenager with the girls that are like younger than me back in the cabin going, it's okay, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
why am I in that position, and why are the adults not recognizing what their impact was
Yeah, for
on these
sure.
literal children? Like
Yeah.
like literal children. So that kind of made me question some things in that moment. But you know, I respect the belief. I think you got to believe in something anymore. So,
Hmm.
I don't know. I think anymore I just stick to the more traditional basics.
Yeah.
The basic 10 commandments for lack of
Yeah.
better explanation.
Yeah. And I
Personally,
think
that's what
that's
I think.
like that's a lot of what we kind of just stick to. We just tell people the basics, and we do believe that heaven and hell is very real, but we're not gonna like scare somebody and use scare tactics into telling them like, hey, you better
Right.
believe this because it's really scary if you don't. It's like, well, there's
Yes.
also love is a very huge part of Christianity, and God's love is the entire reason that we're able to have salvation.
And
And
some pastors don't do that. Some pastors
yeah,
just they don't make that a focal point of what they're teaching. And I have to wonder, like, if more of them did, maybe people would be less apprehensive
yeah, and we
about being
play a
part of
ton
it.
of recovery groups and seeing them and like how they approach Christianity has really just changed my life in so many ways because they are on fire for God and they are like the most dangerous people you could be around at the time, but they've left that lifestyle and they're so they meet you where you're at and God has met them where they're at. And so it's like who am I to tell somebody that they need to like completely leave this entire thing and destroy everything about them and like they have to be a Christian this certain way. It's like, no, God has called people to fill many different roles. And, he says, come as you are. And we're supposed to meet people where they're at and love them into the arms of Jesus. And so I think that has also helped a ton just because we play a ton of recovery groups and you see people of all different walks of life and how
Oh
they're
yeah.
able to have a relationship with God. And so that's been super cool to see because it's kind of a mix in itself there. Like those venues, they're just regular venues. They're not always at churches and
Mm.
they have sometimes they have church sponsors, but sometimes it's a lot of just rough people who have just become Christians and
They've been
it
through it,
still
yeah.
feels very much like a regular rock concert. And it's like, oh, these are my people. Like this is cool.
That has to be a good feeling. I love that. Well, so
Mhm.
I'm guessing possibly more music is on the way. What's next for you? What can we look forward to coming from you?
Yeah, we are so excited. We have an album completely written. It's in the process of getting like mixed and mastered right now. And
Let's
so
go.
yeah, we're getting all the release plans ready. Like we're working on artwork already. We're working on like if there needs to be another single before the whole thing comes out and all of the like little release plans to get fans involved in it. And we want to go very like old school with it where people are involved with it outside of social media and there's a
Oh,
lot of
got it.
stuff that
Like
we
street
still
teams.
like yeah, there's a lot of stuff we still kind of gotta figure out those small details and logistics of it. But I'm very excited to like see if it'll even work and like try and like test things out. So yeah, we're very excited. There's lots of music on the way.
Yeah. I have a feeling it's going to work out and I can't wait to see what's next. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for getting us excited. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.